look like at the end. And we were just talking today about doing a male-hosted show about interaction with women, because I don't think men have a clue what their goals are with working with women, how to communicate with women. It's just too much virtual reality. All right, we're about ready to begin here. Our international audience, we're saying hello to them. We've got Carrie Williams on the line with Facebook Live, and in a few minutes after the song is done, we'll get into the show. Welcome everybody from the international scene. Great things happening here at KUHS Denver. On the radio television side, we've got people all over the world looking at us from Romania and Finland, Turkey and Canada. Some great viewers in Norway as well. Shout out to Peter out in England, over there in the great island across the pond, as they say. Looking forward to talking to Carrie today about goals, mindful goals. So we'll be with that in about a minute, less than a minute now, actually. So looking forward to talking to Carrie today about goals, mindful goals. So we'll be with that in about a minute, less than a minute now, actually. We got to get more people hooked into the radio show here because of the music. The music is, Henry does such a great job of putting some great tunes together all throughout the day. We got to get more people hooked into the radio show because of the music. The music is, Henry does such a great job of putting some great tunes together all throughout the day. I'll adjust the camera a little bit, Carrie. You can see in the background you and me because we've got the international camera, which is not hooked through Facebook. They get to see that picture on the screen behind me, so they get a chance to see you. We've got the international camera hooked through Facebook. They get to see that picture on the screen behind me. Music is off. I'm getting pushback in my headset. Are you getting pushback there, Carrie?
Yeah, I hear it.
Okay. All right. Absolutely, and this is the day. Fridays are the day, and I'm glad to be here with Carrie Williams on KUHSdenver.com. We are simulcast video and audio as we do every Friday, but we are trying to make sure that we improve ourselves here at KUHS Denver and being more and more professional every time we venture out, and that requires goals. We got to set goals, and Carrie's here to help us about that, setting mindful goals so that we are thinking first about who am I, and making sure that we're presenting the best of who you are through that goal statement. So I'm going to go through a couple of announcements before I bring Carrie in on the show. But for those of you who are on Facebook Live, you can see our broadcast right now live as I go through those things. We've got about we've got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about this morning. We're gonna have a friend of ours who's been on the show before. His name is Josh Copeland, Josh Cuddly Bear Copeland. He is a fighter in the cage fighting, the ultimate fighting world, and he'll be fighting this week. We're going to talk a little bit more about the specifics of that a little later on, because goal setting is a big part of what Josh's life is all about. So I hope Josh is listening today and talking as we talk about our goals and the mindful goals that we have for each day, because he's a dad. He's a professional athlete in a field that's extremely, I guess the only best word for it is violent. They beat up on each other. But when that man leaves the arena, leaves the cage, he's a dad and he's a husband, and he focuses on that with as much intensity and energy as he does with his fighting career. But he knows, as we've talked about, that goal setting and being mindful of his role as a dad and a husband and a son and a brother and is important for him to be successful as a fighter. So we're going to talk a little bit about those kind of examples. But we're also going to talk about defining what mindful goals are through this great book that Carrie Williams has created called Eyes on the Prize, right? Eyes on the Prize. And we're going to make sure that we make a clear distinction and focus on mindful goals as it relates from the individual first and moving that out into your world and the community. So that being said, I want to introduce everybody once again to Carrie Williams. She is the author of Eyes on the Prize, and I love this subtitle, A Kick-Ass Guide. I like that, Carrie. A Kick-Ass Guide to Setting and Achieving the GREAT Goals. Great goals. Now, the last time we talked, we talked about those letters and what they mean, and we're going to get a little deeper into that as it relates to the mindfulness of goal setting and the motivation behind that, and also referring to the transitions it takes to go from one level of goal setting to the next, and what's the mindset? What's our mindset that we require to get to success and feeling good about it? Now, Carrie, where do we find you at today? Where are you at? Awesome. So you were in Vegas, right? Seeing some friends, and now you're back in the home base.
I'm in Los Angeles, my home base.
In LA. So give us a little bit of a background of your success with the book so far. You've been out speaking, and what have in those engagements, what has been some of the key things that have come up from the audience and the participants and the readers of the book?
You've been out speaking, and what have in those engagements, what has been some of the key things that have come up from the audience and the participants and the readers of the book?
So the biggest feedback I get is a sense of relief, because goal setting can be incredibly overwhelming and people just don't know where to start. And this book makes it pretty simple. And so there's a sense of relief of like, oh wait, not only can I do this and handle this,
so
it's not
that seems to fit where we're going to go today with mindful goals. And I'm going to re-emphasize the definition of adding mindfulness to goal setting. And for you and I both, we've talked a lot, and you've talked about it in the book, about that need to understand who am I, where am I at my life work, and how does that generate thoughts about moving forward, what you call transitioning in the book, and then the mindset along with that transition. So if I'm fully aware of who I am and how I'm going to approach life, it could be a little easier for me to then establish my goals, or at least have a better focus on where my goals are going to take me. What would you add to that?
It could be a little easier for me to then establish my goals, or at least have a better focus on what my goals are.
And so often when we are
right, and I would also
setting,
enjoy the journey
it starts
of your
to feel
goal
like we're
setting.
on that hamster wheel.
The journey is the
We're
majority of the
just
time that we
running
spend.
for the
It's
sake of
only a
running,
little bit
and
of time spent in achievement.
And that's
And so often when we aren't mindful about the goals that we're setting.
So let's talk a little bit then about, in that journey, having some clear definitions that help us create a mindset. Like, for example, in the book, you talk about controlled goals and autonomous, or not goals, motivations. Controlled motivation and autonomous motivation. Share a little bit about your definition of those two definitions, so that people can have an idea of the context of the journey and what it should feel like for them when they're hitting the targets.
share a little bit about your definition
So there's
of
basically
that,
two types of
those two
motivations. There's
definitions, so
control
that
and there's
people can have an
autonomy.
idea of
And control,
the context of the journey and what it should feel
control
like for them
are
when they're hitting
motivations from the
targets.
outside in.
Sure. So there's basically two types of motivations. There's controlled and there's autonomous.
They're broken up
And
into two
controlled,
sections.
you can
External
simplify it and say
or
controlled
interjection.
are
And
motivations from
external
the
are the
outside in.
goals where you go,
So
someone else tells you
there
you
are
have to
two
do it.
types of motivation. It's easier to see a chart, but they're broken up into two sections. External or interjection. And external are the goals where you go, someone else tells you you have to do it. Your boss, your teacher, your spouse, your parent, you have to keep your room clean. That's an external motivation. Interjected is still
Okay,
an
so
external
I-
motivation, but you choose to do it because
I was trying to find the chart. I could have put it up on the camera. But
interjected.
with
Okay, so
those two definitions, help me
I
understand
was
where
trying to find the chart.
the definitions
Yeah.
of
On the camera.
intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. I have my own philosophy about the value of extrinsic motivation versus intrinsic. I'm pretty much grounded in intrinsic motivation and have the belief that extrinsic motivation is not so much motivation as it's triggers or it's things that come in and cause you to think. You know, like my best example is, you know, people think that money is a motivator. Well, money is extrinsic, and that, yeah, people get excited about more money, but the real motivation is, I want food, I want a house, you know, or shelter, you know, the Maslowian kind of thought process. So I want to understand the alignment. So on my journey of setting my goals, and I've got that control and autonomous thinking process, I know where I want to land within that. What stimuluses should I respond to? More from within? As it relates to the goal setting process in my journey, or should I be more aware about what's around me?
What stimuluses should I respond
This
to?
sounds like a
more
trick question,
from
but it's
within?
more from within.
Is it
Yeah.
relates to the goal setting process in my journey, or should I be more aware about
So
what's
you
around
want to
me?
be picking your goals for the love of the journey.
This sounds like a
the
trick
love of
question,
the
but
activity,
it's more from
because
within.
truly
You
want it.
want your motivations to be
When I
intrinsic
talk about
and
great
autonomous.
goals,
So you want to be picking
those
your
are
goals
that
for
are
the love of the
self-motivated,
journey,
that
for the
align
love
with
of the
your
activity,
values and
or
your
because you truly
and they're
want to.
highly motivated goals.
When I talk about great goals, the G stands for genuine.
External-
Those are goals that are self-motivated, that align with your core values and your needs, and they're highly motivated goals. When I use
Yeah. Well, it was a trick question because I wanted you to talk more about your book.
motivations as well for my clients,
But also
like a 1-2
relevant to
punch.
our audience and our
You
listeners
have
is to
have the
is to
intrinsic
scope
motivation
out
first.
what this picture looks like of what the journey, my future journey might look like. Because too often, especially in the world that I work in a lot with athletes, they get so distracted by what's around them. And I talk a lot about understanding the environment, understanding where those stimuluses will come from, internalize them and make them your own, or get rid of them, leave them alone, so that the clarity they have in setting their goals is true to themselves. So we're talking the same thing. But again, the point is there's so much vocabulary, isn't there? There's different words for so many things. And I want to make sure our audience is grounded in more of an organic vocabulary that crosses over all kinds of industries and experiences. So we're summarizing in that from inside, work from inside, be autonomous with those, and genuine, as you say, with the big G on the goal setting, the great goals, so that when we get to the point where we're starting to transition, we're moving from one place to the next. One of my examples is that happens all the time with from high school to college is I was that superstar senior high school athlete. Now I'm a freshman superstar amongst many. I'm back to being one of all, and that's an important place to be autonomous and really be introspective of who I am, so that I make the transition in a good way. So my journey continues to be very positive. So what would you say to people setting their goals about that changing landscape and how they would manage that transition with regard to setting their mindful goals?
So how would you say to people setting their goals about that changing landscape and how they would manage that transition with regard to setting their mindful
And
goals?
success is on your terms. So often
So the first step is to make sure that the goal that you set aligns with your core values and needs, because then it is completely yours. And success is on your terms. So often we get caught up because we compare our success to the person next to us or to the best person in the room. when their journey and path has been different, their skills and their knowledge are different. And so we can't compare our success to theirs. And that trips us up a
Don't
lot.
compare yourself to your very best day
So
of your life.
first,
Because
compare
you
your
only have
success
one
to your
very
success.
best day in your entire life. And
Focus on what you are
to
bringing
compare yourself
that
to that
day.
best every
Don't
other
compare
day
yourself to your very best day of your life. Because you're only going to have one very best day in your
Yeah,
entire
it does.
life.
It does absolutely. In fact, as I said in pre-show, I said there's so many things going on in this world. We could extend the conversation to those examples, and I'm going to try not to. Try to stay focused on our mission for today. And that goes to the next area I want to talk to you in our mindset segment here is about that knowing yourself during that transition and creating that mindset that is self-generated. You're looking from within, and that's what mindset's all about. It's where we create that mindfulness in thinking through, okay, what's influencing me, the environments, the people, filtering through that stuff. Now here, I don't know if you've ever been approached with this, but I get it from every client type I have, the executives all the way through the athletes. I don't have enough time. You're asking me to do so many things, I don't have enough time. How can I goal set when I got all these things going on? I said maybe those things would be as hectic and as many if you were goal setting.
You're asking me to do
Here's one of the great things about goal
How can I
setting.
goal set when
One of the most important parts about setting and reaching a goal is learning how to
those
say
things
no.
would be as
Oh,
hectic as
thank
many
you.
Those are the things that aren't going to help you on your journey. Because
Well, here's one of the great things about goal setting. One of the most important parts about setting and reaching a goal is learning how to say no.
And time
Oh.
Say no to the things that aren't going to help you on your journey. Because what happens is when you're just looking for opportunities, you start saying yes to everything. And some of those yeses become distractions and time sucks.
It's absolutely free.
So it sounds counterintuitive, but learning to say no to things that aren't important.
So I'm gonna take a small step, Carrie, into the areas of topic that we talked about pre-show. Does that apply to all genders?
Working towards your success.
So
Is it more emphasized to one gender versus another? And you know as well as I do, I've told my daughter, I told my son that no means no in the context of interrelationships. So when you're setting goals, mindful goals about the people you interact with, professionally, personally, family, whatever the case may be, when we say, as you said, about goal setting, learn how to say no, not being pulled by the environment, not being pulled by people, peers, and peer groups, which is a very powerful energy. You know, are there gender differences, do you think, about saying no to those things that we need to be aware of by? Like, I need to be aware of as a man about what women should say no to in goal setting. And I'm not talking about sexuality, I'm talking or interactions.
So we might be opening a can of worms here, but I find that when I work with my clients, my female clients have a harder time saying no. And my opinion is that that's because.
So we might be opening a can of worms here, but I find that when I work with my clients, my female clients have a hard time saying no. And my opinion is that that's because we're culturally raised to be accommodating and to please the people around us. And that means saying yes quite often.
Yeah.
And we're getting better at saying no, but oftentimes in the moment we say yes, and then later we go, oh, I should
Well,
have said
and
no
Carrie,
to
you know
that.
that you
And I catch myself doing that.
you mentioned can of worms, and I think we are, but I think we should. You know, that's kind of what I listened to Ben Affleck last night, and I guess he was on again this morning in the media talking about how he made mistakes. You know, he opened up a can of worms, but he had no idea he opened it up. And the goals that were in the minds of these females that he worked with were about their careers. And he didn't know that. And by just pure being a guy, he objectified them and dishonored their goals, but he didn't know they had them. So, like you said, you know, a female in career may say yes because they think they should. It's not necessarily intrinsic. It's by pressure from the environment or the industry.
A female in career may say yes because they think they should.
If you're going to say
It's
yes
not
to something,
necessarily
think about these
intrinsic.
questions. One,
It's by
is saying
pressure
yes
from
help
the
me reach my
environment
goal?
or the industry.
Is this activity
Yeah.
something that I
So
want to do?
that's the
So
trick.
is it intrinsic?
If you're going to say
And
yes to
also,
something,
is this
think about
activity
these questions.
something
One,
that
is
I
saying yes help me
want
reach
doing?
my goal?
And notice the emphasis is on
Is
I,
this
not
activity
does it need to be
something that
done,
I
but
want
am
to
I
do?
one that needs to be
So
doing
is
it?
it intrinsic?
Because
And
you
also,
practice
is this
delegation,
activity something that
don't
I
have to do
think
everything
I want
yourself.
doing?
Yeah, and you know what, you're bringing up another point about when the goals are set, especially by young women, and I have a daughter in her 30s that's going through career issues, and finding the millennials, she's telling me the millennial generational differences are here right now. There's generational conflicts with goal setting for these young women, that because young men haven't been educated enough to be a good listener, if they happen to be a supervisor or the person that the woman has to directly report to, so that goal statements in performance reviews, goal statements in personal scheduling of the day doesn't necessarily take on the contextual references to saying no. Yes, I understand. If I say no to this, it could be detrimental to me in my career path this way. But so that I'm segueing into change, Carrie. We're going to talk about. Okay, so that if that individual says, "Oh darn, if I would have done it this way, it would have went that direction. Can I salvage it? Okay, I've got to adjust and adapt. So can I make a change in these goals? Because many times I've got people that go, if I set the goal, it's the goal. I'm going for it. They get so blindered on it and directional with it, and that it can't be changed. So let's talk a little bit about what the hold that change can have on you when you set goals, especially related to the example about gender issues, whether it's the parity or the equality in the workforce, about, hey, yeah, I'm a woman who's trying to strive to gain track. I made a mistake in my goal setting. I need to change my path. How important is it for that individual to communicate to others the change they're making, the difference in the goals they're setting?
It's incredibly important. And the other thing is, when you are communicating with others, try to put yourself in their shoes and communicate in the style that they will hear, not the style that's best for you.
Yeah, empathic listening is a part of that.
It's incredibly important. And the other thing is, when you are communicating with others, try to put yourself in their shoes and communicate in the style that they will hear, not the style that's best for you. Right?
Well, we're going to come back. I'm going to take a little bit of break. I'm going to do some shameful publicity stuff. We're going to bring up your book. Is this the shameful enough for you? There we go. Eyes on the Prize. You can get this on Amazon, as I understand, right, Carrie? Awesome. Very, very good. Now, I want to also point out that with this book and the conversation we've had so far about focusing and bringing it from within, there's these chances where you might have trouble focusing. So I would refer you to my app. Shameless promotion. Time to Focus. It's free, and when you're on Amazon and you're buying the book, make sure you check out Time to Focus on iTunes and check that out, because it helps you in a matter of seconds. You can play the game. It seems like a game, but it's based on 3 psychological principles that helps activate your brain to specific tasks. So when you've got that goal statement made, you're working on your great goals, and you're kicking ass. You're doing it right. You're going to be focused in on that. And I've had all kinds of individuals talk about their use of the app in helping them stay focused, and it's kind of fun. So get the book on Amazon or at Carrie's website. Carrie, I got to make sure I get that website stuck in my head. So for the there we go, eyesontheprizebook.com. There we go. So we're into our second segment called skills. We're going to kind of not rush through it, but we're going to be quicker on this because we covered a couple of the skills in the first segment of Mindset. And it's about transition. What kind of skills am I calling upon to transition myself? We touched on one, which was organize myself, be focused on the know what those are. So it's that going back to getting to know who you are from the internal stuff. But what are some other skills that you would recommend for people to really hone in on when they're trying to set goals and implement them successfully?
Focus on the know.
So there's a difference between tools and skills, in my opinion.
Yep, I agree.
The skills that I want you, the characteristics that I want you to practice are somewhat surprising, because most people say willpower, just have strong willpower and grind through it. And I say if you
So there's a difference between tools and skills, in my opinion. And the skills that I want you, the characteristics that I want people to practice are somewhat surprising, because most people say willpower, just have strong willpower and grind through it. And I say if you can shift and start approaching things with curiosity, you're much more likely to be successful, because curiosity puts you in a growth mindset. And you and I know that our mindset is the perspective and attitude with which we view the world and our lives. And growth mindset is where when we come across a challenge, we get excited by it. When we come across something that isn't in our skill set, we devote time and energy and learn it. When someone next to us is successful, we get inspired by it as opposed to intimidated by it, right? So growth mindset is a really healthy place to be for goal setting. And curiosity puts you in that growth mindset. So start asking yourself questions. If you're on a path towards a journey towards a goal and a challenge comes up, ask yourself, what can I do to get around this?
And that gets back to something we said a minute ago about when when change gets a hold of me, what skills and tools can I use to kind of break that hold? And you mentioned one with some of my clients. I call it the mantra. Give yourself a mantra that you can say to yourself when you feel like you're kind of stuck, that you just repeat it over and over again. It gets you out of that, and one of those mantras I use for my folks is, it's all about me. It's all about me. It's all about me. Get them back to a positive place in their head, and then they start thinking about the different steps. So what are some skills and tools that you would recommend to people to in addition to what we've just talked about, that gets them out of that stuck place?
In their head, and then they start thinking about the different steps. So what are some skills and tools that you would recommend people to, in addition to what we just talked about, that gets them out of that stuck place?
Yeah.
I think mantras are really good. My mantra is my choice, my goal, because the more that we can recognize that we have the power of choice, and it's the power of choice that changes the results, the more we can own this journey and empower ourselves. I think things that take you away from. So I think consistently practicing making choices
So
towards your goal.
one of the things, and you and I'm glad you brought in tools, because in my category of skills, it's kind of categorical for outline purposes. So tools are in there that I want to give people tangibles that they can hang on to. Because I don't know about you, but I get so many people that feel really great about the talk we had, and then they leave without remembering the specific tools, skill sets that we talked about that they need to practice after they leave to continue with that good feeling. So mantra is one, a game like time to focus, reading a book. Like, for example, I'm going to say chapter 11. We're working on chapters 11, 12, and 13 in your book. People, that's what we're focused on. So if you need a place to go reference things, go do that. I don't know if you noticed in my little book, look at all those tabs in my little book. So, have organizational skills that help you to get to information quickly. In addition to that, how many of us have used technology and we don't use it completely? I mean, you could simplify your life just by getting a flip phone, I think, maybe. Just get it to do what it's supposed to do for you. That's an oversimplification of what I'm talking about here. But I'm asking you, Carrie, what are some specific things that when people walk away from you after a seminar, a book reading, or what have you, what are the things you want them to continue to use to practice staying on task?
I'm asking you, Carrie, what are some specific things that when people walk away from after a seminar or a book, or what have you, I cannot claim to have created these techniques. I learned them in coaching school. One of them is the stop technique, and it's really good for mindfulness in the moment.
So there's a couple techniques that I tend to use with almost all my clients. I cannot claim to have created these techniques. I learned them in coaching school. One of them is the stop technique, and it's really good for mindfulness in the moment. So if you find yourself getting off track, or getting anxious, or getting worried, or just keeping yourself out of the moment, you stop. And it's S-T-O-P. Stop. Take a deep breath, because we know that taking a deep breath actually physically relaxes your body, right? And energizes your brain. Observe. Observe what you're feeling and what caused you to feel that way. And then, based on that, decide how you want to proceed. And the deciding part is important, because again, it puts it back to you. You get a choice. Even if you're feeling overwhelmed, or you feel like there's no option, you get to decide what your step forward is.
We're still in the...
So you can practice stop. I've had clients...
Yeah, we're still in a culture, well, not a culture, but our world is still disposable. Let's do it fast. We don't necessarily get the results we want, but let's move fast with it. A quick the quick satisfaction, immediate satisfaction kind of world process, and I don't have any problem with that. But everybody's different, so I'm gonna extend on what you just said and ask you to talk about how does one take those techniques to their desk or their cubby, their cubicle. For me, I recommend people to make, put things on their desk that reminds them of things. Now, I get the mom and dad pictures, the husband, wife, children kind of thing, significant others, the cactus that doesn't have to get watered because you don't have a green thumb, those kind of things on your desk. But my belief is that space is a place for you to have kind of an idol for you that keeps you on task. What would you add to that?
So here's what you can do on your desk at work. You can change your screensaver so that it reminds you of your goal.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I have a mirror in front of my desk, and I have markers, and I've written on my mirror.
So here's what you can do on your desk at work. You can change your screensaver so that it reminds you of your goal or of your daily task. I have a mirror in front of my desk, and I have markers, and I've written on my mirror because I picked an action word for the year for myself and my business, and this year it was invest. So I have 2017 invest exclamation point in bright pink on the mirror in front of task.
Yeah, I like the mirror thing is really cool.
Set little reminders for yourself, and the reminders should be of what you're trying to achieve and accomplish, so you can look at them, and it will focus you back on task. You can also,
yeah, I like the mirror.
If you are a vision-oriented person,
I know when I was educating in the college arena, we would use the glass windows to write on because it would like our dry boards. The dry board markers work really well on that. So I love that area. The other thing I want to bring us back to is your comment about breathing and the physiological impact of breathing with athletes and a lot of my senior executives. I ask them to schedule out time in their day to do breathing routines, so they have like micro moments of meditation. And within those micro moments, they visualize certain things. That's like, for example, one of those things for executives is visualizing a presentation they may have to make that day or the next day, and actually right down to the environment, especially if it's been a place they've been at before, so they know, okay, it's this kind of room with glass walls or chairs and this kind of stuff. Because some of us are very much influenced by tactile things. I've got one executive, I say, make sure you go in and touch the table every time you go in, because it's a familiar thing to you, and it immediately brings him down and settles him into a heart rate that's going to be optimal for him to be breathing properly, oxygenating his brain, and that way he's going to trigger things very quickly. And if he's got a plan going in with the goals, all those things connect and stay in place. So we've gone from the transitioning stage. We're talking more about mindset, and we're in the segment now with me on the skills stuff. I'm going to quickly go into mental conditioning here in a minute, which is where I kind of bridge both mindset and skills together, because you have to condition your brain to, it's that practice place. And we're going to talk about, in your book, the motivation and mindset combination, and what can happen to us if we're faced with obstacles that take us out of that, and how do we get back? The resiliency factors. And I don't know that we speak, especially moms and dads that are working and being a parent, and they're like primo resilient. I mean, how do you make those shifts? Or to talk about in a minute about people saying, I leave my work at the office. I go, you got to be kidding me. And there's no way. You bring a mindset home, however much degree it is, you bring it home with you. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. We're on our next break before we go into the mental conditioning segment. We're identify change, how to manage change, talk about that, and reflect back on mindset and skill sets. And we're here talking to Carrie Williams, the author of Eyes on the Prize. Wonderful book. I like it because of what Carrie does in the format of the book in giving you great examples. Here's the knowledge, bring you right to action steps. I'm gathering that in my conversation with you, Carrie, that you actually speak that way too. It's not just, in print. You actually.
No, I tried to make it sound like the way I speak.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. And in doing this, we talked a little bit about mindsets and knowing who you are. And one of the things that I've created is an assessment process called the RMP. And it's based on 30 years of data research, longitudinal studies across 3 different continents, looking at over 70, well now it's in excess of 100,000 people in the data set. And over in those 3 continents, we're looking at different socioeconomic and gender and ethnicity issues. So we've vetted this thing pretty well. And it gives us a greater than 80% probability of identifying behaviors that will enhance performance. So it could be a relationship performance, it could be work performance, athletic performance. It's cellular. That's how organic it is. It's not like, do you have a tendency to be argumentative? Are you a good leader? That's so fluffy, and I'm not going to name any names as far as assessments go, but they have a lot of letters in the evaluation. I think I'm an IMJTQPR7 or something. I don't know what I am. But the assessment I created with a colleague of mine works on identifying for individuals, who am I, why am I here, so that I can set mindful goals that are great and move forward through transitions and be prepared to handle any obstacles that might get in my way to throw me off my goal path and my journey, as you say. I really like your analogy with journey. So, Carrie and her book, Eyes on the Prize, great book to read. We're also talking about assessment tools with the RMP. You can go to my website, 360 Mindset, look at the RMP tab and check that out. So we're into our next set, mental conditioning, and just so everybody knows, mental conditioning is where we're bringing the skill and mindset components of behavior together. And as it relates to Carrie's book on great goals and keeping your eye on the prize, that's actually it. That title, mental conditioning, is focusing on the prize. Now, that being said, my prizes are processes. What processes do I go through? Not the ribbon at the end, not the trophy at the end, but the process of the goal. So if I'm going to set great goals, what am I targeting at? So I add roles in here, Carrie. So I'm going to ask you about what behaviors, the process, enhance or diminish my motivation to taking actions on my goals.
So I add roles.
So we've already talked about enhancement. Yeah. Staying in a place of curiosity
Yep.
will enhance your success.
Process.
Right? Because that keeps you in a growth mindset position.
Yep.
Diminish my motivation.
Will
to taking
enhance your
action
success.
on my
Now we throw mindfulness
Okay.
around a lot.
So we've already talked about a few of them. Staying in a place of curiosity will enhance your success, right? Because that keeps you in a growth mindset position.
Yep.
Mindfulness
Focus on the now.
will enhance your success. Now, we throw mindfulness around a lot, and I know that your listeners know what it is, but for those that don't, mindfulness is just being able to be aware of and manage your emotions in the moment, and also focus on the now. Not stress out about the future, not have anxiety about the decisions that you made in the past, but really focus on this moment. Because when we do that, if you think about it, you never have stress in this very moment that you're in. It's always stress or anxiety about what's coming, what might happen, or what did happen and how you handle it, right? So mindfulness is really being aware of your emotions in the moment, what's causing those
So
emotions,
the mental conditioning
and what's happening
component of that you said, if you have to just give you some highlights. Managing emotions in the moment, because as we talked about earlier, the environment has a lot of influences on our mindset and the skills we choose. So in the mental conditioning segment, we are trying to put this all into a package that represents us, and that we're using these prompts. Like you said on your mirror, I have a stay in the now. on a little post-it above my desk, and that helps me because managing my emotions, I get. Can you imagine that? I get a little excited. And I was relied upon as an athlete to be the person with the excitement, but at the same time, there are moments when calm that down, bring it down. And what I've learned over time is I'm not gonna forget that part of me. I'm going to know when it's the right fit. So the mental conditioning part is the practice to know when is the right fit, to be in the moment, and how to manage your emotions. I've got athletes in the locker room that will do finger drills as a way to stay organized and controlled in their emotions, but they're focusing their imaging on the now, I'm going to leave this locker room, I'm going to stay focused, I have things to do. I've got executives that will, well, one of the examples last night, I noticed Ben Affleck has a manage the emotions tick. He puts his hands together like this, and he's got his thumb on the underside, rubbing the bottom of his palm. So I know whether he knows it or not, he does that, and I've seen him do that several times in interviews, because he tries to keep everything under control to manage the image that he projects. So give me some of your thoughts from your experiences on what you've seen that in behaviors of people that indicates you, they're losing a little control. Hey, bring this back.
So I think it starts
give me some of your thoughts
at
and your
base level.
experiences
I think
on
a
what
lot of
you've
us
seen
don't know
that
what we don't even
in
acknowledge or
behaviors of people
recognize
that
our emotions,
indicates
or we can't name them.
Yeah.
And you can't manage them
Right.
if you can't name them. So
I think it starts actually at a base level. I think a lot of us don't know what we don't even acknowledge or recognize our emotions, or we can't name them. And if you can't manage them if you can't name them. So I've had people who are freaking out and they don't know why. They don't know what it is they're feeling. So practice naming your emotions. And you can do this by just setting a timer on your phone and having it every hour go, what am I feeling right now?
Versus I'm feeling stressed. Versus
Let's
I'm
practice
feeling
naming it. You can go online and get a list of all the emotions that are out there and learn to identify them. And get as detailed as possible, because there's a difference between I'm feeling anxious versus I'm feeling stressed versus I'm feeling panicked, right?
Okay, I'm gonna
together.
Yeah, I was just saying, I'm going to bring up something I mentioned earlier, that I don't have time, Carrie, I'm sorry, I don't have time to name them. I might be able to put a little post-it note on every once in a while, but come on, I don't know how to name it. What do you say to that person?
Because I have, go ahead.
I was just saying, I'm going to bring up something I mentioned earlier.
I say, are your goals
I don't have time, Carrie. I'm sorry, I don't have time to name. I might be able to put a
Yeah.
Because you don't have time not to.
Do you talk about consequences by not doing it?
I'm sorry?
Do you talk about consequences if they don't do it?
Because you don't have
Yeah.
time not
The
to.
fact that they're making their journey
You
longer.
don't
you
have the
talk
time
about
not to.
by not doing it?
People who are successful
I'm
practice
sorry?
this.
Yeah.
And
Do
that's
you
how
talk
we
about
become successful
consequences
ourselves.
if
We
they
take
don't
what
do
works for other people and we practice.
Well,
So
I talk
if
about the
we're
fact that they're
choosing
making their journey
not to
longer
take
and more
steps that will
difficult.
lead to success, we have to
That
figure out
people
why.
who are successful
What's stopping them from
practice
making that
this.
Yeah.
And that's how we
There,
become
you know,
successful
there
ourselves.
in the
We take what works for other people and
world of
practice it.
physiology
So
and
if we're choosing
and
not to take
doing
the steps that will lead to success,
muscle
we have to
memory
figure out
work
why.
with different kinds of
What's
electronic
stopping
tools
us
and
from
stuff.
making that choice?
You know, there are guidelines that come out that say, well, 10,000 hours builds a habit. You got to put 10,000 hours, blah, 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 blah. You know, and that may be a good benchmark, but I've also had people that the nature of who they are, they will fight that to try to prove it wrong. That I can do it in 7,000 hours.
You know, and
It's the
that's,
same
I mean,
thing
that
as
may be a
it
good
takes 21 days
benchmark.
to make a habit.
But
Right?
Yeah.
I've done that myself. I was vegan for 21 days, and on the 22nd day, I had
fight
to stay
that to
Yeah.
try
because
to
I thought it.
that I can
And
do
what
it in
they say
7.
when they give you that
Well,
21 days,
it's the same thing as it takes 21 days to make a habit,
So they
right?
hope you
I've
will
done
go
that
through the
myself. I
three-stage
was vegan for
process
21 days, and on the
of
22nd day, I had some steak.
the neutral
Because
zone
I fought
and
it.
the beginning. So
And
that
what they
change
say
will become a habit.
when they give you that 21 days is that they hope
Yeah.
that you're going to make the mental transition.
So
they hope that you'll go through the
So at
three-stage
Make a change
process
for a day
of an
is to make
ending,
a
a neutral
lifelong
zone, and a new beginning.
So at this point,
so that
then I
that
want to
change
ask you
will become
about
a habit and
the-
will become stuck.
we're talking about transition, motivation, and mindset. So we're going to get into the motivation to make the transition. You know, like you were trying to make the transition from not being vegan to vegan, and in the 22nd day, you had a piece of steak or a hamburger or whatever the case may be. What are some of the strategies you would offer or have offered to people about the ways to stay motivated, the ways to stay reminded, and maybe it's going to be a win-lose. It's not going to be a win-win, and how to accept that.
Strategies you would offer or have offered to people about
Here's the tough part about goal
ways
setting.
to stay
It's
motivated,
always a
ways to
win-lose.
stay reminded.
Because
And
any
maybe
journey to
it's going to be a
change
win-lose.
starts with a loss.
It's not going to
It
be a
starts with
win-win.
ending of something.
How do
we
So
accept
let's take the simplest goal we can think of, which is weight loss.
Here's
That's
the
goal.
tough part about goal setting.
80% of
It's
all
always a
Americans set
win-lose. Because any journey to change starts with a loss. It starts with ending of something.
Yeah.
So let's take the simplest goal we can think of, which is weight loss. That's the goal. Something like 80% of all Americans set that.
Always ordering dessert.
Because you have to lose some things aside from pounds before you can lose the weight, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you have to lose the spontaneity of going out to a restaurant and picking what you want. Maybe you have to lose the freedom of always ordering dessert. Maybe you have to say no to a few nights out for drinking, right? Because you're counting calories. Maybe you have to spend some time writing to log in your food. Those are all losses.
But if you can't acknowledge what you're going to
And
leave
we don't
behind, and you have
usually recognize there's not losses and acknowledge them. We focus on
So,
how great it's going to be when we
I know that there are differences
which is important.
amongst people regarding their interest
And if you
level
can't
and
acknowledge
desire
you're
to
gonna
be around a lot of
behind
other
and
people.
agree for
There are some
it,
people that want to be more
you're gonna drag
independent,
it along with
you know, like hang out on their own and be by themselves. So we have these differences as who we are and what we desire. So, as I'm going to guess you're going to agree that not everybody's going to treat goal setting in a way that's going to bring them to the panacea of ultimate goal accomplishment, right? And the more they know each other, like for example, you're talking about weight loss, or you know, any addictive kind of thing, weight loss, smoking, drinking, what have you. You know, I have a few friends that are admitted alcoholics, and they meeting attenders and stuff. And for a long time, I would purposefully not drink around them. But that was me thinking. That wasn't me asking. That wasn't me asking them, well, what's the degree of desire for you for other people to drink around you? Because he was at corporate meetings where there was an open bar. He was at a party at my house where we had liquor there, and I got so nervous. Oh my God, I forgot. John is here. I should put the alcohol away. And I still didn't ask him. I still didn't ask. So the communication of goals as a strategy to help with the transitioning of things, is that important in that transitioning and motivation part?
I still don't have, so the communication of goals
I would
as
say
a
twofold. It's
strategy
important to communicate
to
your
help
goals
with the
so that other people
transitioning of
know
things,
and can support you if
is
they
that
choose to.
important in that
But it's
transitioning and
also
motivation
really important
part?
for you to be honest with yourself about your level of
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say twofold. It's important to communicate the goals so that other people know and can support you if they choose to. But it's also really important for you to be honest with yourself about your level of commitment. I'm a massage and I work a lot with performers and I give workshops for performers.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I ask them is on a scale of 1 to 10, how badly do you want this? 10 being you will absolutely, literally die if you don't have a career in acting. Where are you on that scale?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things it astounds me when people raise their hand and say they're at a 10. Badly do you want? I said, wait. You'll die if you don't breathe. You'll die if you don't have water. You die if you don't act.
Yeah, and you've heard the vernacular of SMART goals, right?
And I know that that's a level.
Okay, so the one piece on that I don't want to distract too much, but realistic. And I think that's what you're talking about. People being realistic about their expectations and that the goal fits them, fits who they are. I mean, I've had, as you may have as well, I've had people go through goal sessions for themselves, and they just make up a list like they're going through a drill. It's not purposeful with an intent towards themselves. They're just, oh yeah, I'm in a goal session. I got to write down goals. Okay, make these goals up. And as you say, it doesn't have that I've got to breathe, I've got to have water kind of thought process to it. So what are the measurables?
I changed it to reachable. My R stands for reachable.
Yeah.
Here's what I want.
As you say, it doesn't have that, I've got to breathe, I've got to have water.
And the tools and resources that you have in
Right.
your.
So I changed it to reachable.
Is this goal reachable?
My R stands for reachable, and here's what I want people to think about. given the time and the energy that you're willing to commit, and the tools and resources that you have at your side.
So let's talk a little bit about then the measurable part, because I've had a lot of people give me pushback about, should a goal be measurable? I go, well, what do we mean by that? Is it do 20 bench presses and that's a measurable goal, but are you actually achieving something at 20 because 20 is really easy for you? So what is measurable? Or is that measurable make it intimidating for some people? Oh my God, I put down 10 and I can't make 5. And all of a sudden they just give up the whole goal setting process entirely. So where does that measuring, because we're bridging into our performance results segment here, with using measurability. What were your thoughts on that?
They just give up the whole goal setting process.
I think measurable is important.
So where does that measuring, because we're bridging into our performance results segment
finish line in your
right.
goal,
with
how will
measurability?
you ever know if you achieved
What
it?
are your thoughts on that?
And if it's a constant sliding goal, it's
I think measurable is important.
So imagine if you were going to run a race.
Both as a finish line and along the journey. Here's why. If you don't have a solid finish line in your goal, how will you ever know if you achieved it? And if it's a constant sliding goal, it's incredibly frustrating. So imagine if you were going to run a race and you thought you were running a 5K, and partway through you went, oh, no, this is a 10K. And then a little further you went, oh, this is a half marathon. And then you find out you were running a marathon. Because that's what happens when we don't set exact goals with solid finish lines.
Yeah, and
If you set a goal that's
so are you thinking people are looking, or is your experience showing you that people are not breaking goals, setting down into smaller steps? Like here's an example. You mentioned racing. Michael Johnson, 5-time gold medalist at the Olympics. He does process orientation for his goal setting. So instead of saying, I'm going to run a 43:40, he says, I'm going to make sure my arms are this way because I know when my arms are this way and I hit the ground a certain way, that gives me maximum drive, more efficient release. Those are small process goals that if he accomplishes those, he may get the sub 40-second time for the 40 meter.
That gives you maximum drive,
So here's
more
my philosophy.
efficient
It
release.
is all right to
Those are
set an
small
outcome goal under
process
your goal,
goals
as
that
long
if
as
he
you
accomplishes
recognize
those,
that it is
he
an
may
outcome
get
goal,
the sub
and
40
you're going to focus on the
second
sub-steps.
time
Again, I work
for
with
the
performers
40
a lot,
minutes.
and when they come in the room.
So here's
their
my
goal is,
philosophy.
I wanna
It
book
is
the
all
job,
right to
right?
set
So
an
Yeah.
I wanna
outcome
book
goal
that
for
next
your major
audition.
goal, as long as
Well,
you
guess what?
recognize that it
That's
is
how
an
they
outcome
control.
goal, and
Because
you're
they
going to
don't
focus
decide
on the
if they get that
sub-steps.
job, the director
Again, I
or
work with
the
performers a lot, and
So
when
what
they come in
can
the
focus
room,
on
their
are all
goal
the
is, I want to
leads
book
and
the job,
auditions that they
right?
know
So I want to book that
respect
next
the
audition.
job, right?
Well, guess
So
what?
they can
That's out of their
devote the time
control,
to
because
memorize
they
the
don't
lines
decide if
before.
they get that
They
job,
can
the
work
director
on
or
their mantra
producer
before they
does.
go in and get their
So what
energy
they
out.
can
They can
focus
show up
on
time
are
and
all of the
ready.
elements in their
Those are
audition
the
that
things
they
they
know
focus
will
on.
increase
Those are all
likelihood of booking that job, right?
not
So they
outcomes.
can
Yeah.
devote the time to
So
memorize the
then,
lines
Carrie,
before. They
here's
can work
another
on their
another
mantra before
chance
they
for us
go in
to
and get their
exercise our
energy out.
manage the
They can
emotions
show up
muscle,
on
right?
time and camera
Because
ready.
failure
Those are
could
the
pop
things
in
that they
here.
can focus on, and those are all process.
We go in with that process
Yeah.
orientation, that smaller bites to really work on them, and I still may not get what I want.
Another chance for us to
So
exercise our
where do we
management
position our mindset regarding failure in the goal setting, the goal attainment journey?
And I still may not get what I want.
In my opinion,
So
failure is a
where do we
gift.
position
Failure
our
is a
mindset
chance to
regarding
learn
failure
and grow.
in the
We don't really learn and grow from our successes.
setting, the goal
We learn
attainment?
that we can try and repeat them, and if it works again,
Yeah.
great.
In my opinion,
So much
failure
from
is a
failure. We
gift.
learn what didn't work. We learn what
Failure
didn't
is a
work.
chance to
Trying
learn
new strategies
and
for
grow.
next time.
We don't really learn and grow
And
from our
so I
successes.
encourage my clients
We
to
learn that
fail
we can
big,
try and
fail
repeat
hard,
them, and if it
fail
works
fast, and
again,
learn as much
great.
as possible.
But we learn so much
If
from our
you're not a
failure. We
successful
learn what
person,
didn't
you've
work.
done
We
this.
learn
Yeah.
what didn't
Have
work. We
massive
have
failures
to
along
create
the
a
way.
strategy for next time.
Yeah.
Really rarely
And
is
so
someone successful
I
the
encourage
first
my
time they try.
clients to fail big, fail hard, fail fast, and learn as much as possible.
And recognize
If you talk to a successful
because I
person, you
failed
know
does
this.
not mean I
They have
Yeah.
lots of failures along the way. Really rarely is someone successful the very first time they try. So what we want to encourage
One of the
is
things I'm
learning
hearing
from
you
that
say
failure.
is that there's a
And
kind of a
recognizing that
pacing
because I
with
failed does not mean I
one's
am a failure.
interaction
It
in
means that
the
strategy
the journey.
did not
You
work.
don't have to go really fast through the journey. There should be points where you pause a moment, absorb what's happening in front of you. It may look like it's a failure, it may look like it's not going quite well, and then we're asking ourselves to adapt and adjust to what I'm experiencing in this journey so that I can get as much out of this experience as I had planned for. So it might need be 100% goal success, but it might be a percentage of that, and satisfaction is still very high. So I'm kind of like I'm learning about the failure as I go and adapting and adjusting. I can only know from my experience around actors and entertainers that many of them ask for forgiveness, say, hold on a minute, can I do that a little differently? Or hey, I missed that. Let me back up. And they think, and many of the younger ones that haven't experienced this, they go, I can't ask that question. I can't do that. But if you're really focused on the process and your confidence in who you are, you could. It may not work, but it could work.
Right, and they think they can't ask that.
I can't do that. But if you're really focused
Yeah.
on the process
If
and
the
your
outcome
confidence
is
in
I
who
want to
you
book the
are,
job, they're afraid that if I ask you to do it over,
it
they'll
may
look
not work,
confident
but
or
Right, and they think they can't ask that because it will affect the outcome.
learn as much as they can
Right.
Yeah.
from each audition.
If the outcome is I want to book the job, they're afraid that by
Yeah.
asking to do it over, they'll look
Well, and-
unconfident or unprepared or
It's
uncertain.
hard to
But if
separate
the goal is
process
to
versus outcome.
suck the marrow from the bones and
And
learn
I,
as much
I,
as they can
I,
from
I
each
face it all the
audition,
time, and I'm sure you do as well, that this is also
then they
the
would ask that
point
question.
where
It's
when
really
you're
hard to
in the midst of
separate
accomplishing or
process
trying to
versus
accomplish your
outcome.
goals, you're going to find yourself cycling back to the very beginning of setting a
I face it all
goal.
the time, and I'm sure you do as well.
Because,
that this is
like you
also
said, it's a
the point
beginning, it's an end.
where
And who's to know when the chicken arrives or the egg? You know, it's okay. I'm back. It didn't go the way I wanted to, but I gained some stuff out of it. It's maintaining that positivity, as Sean Akers would say. Positivity has got to be part of the success formula, or you're not going to optimize what your possibilities are. So I'm really glad we're at this point. It really works out well to ask you about combining that mindset, motivation, and transitioning ability. What are some of the things that you would recommend, or you have advised or shown people that here's your performance results, here's what you need to look for, and failure sounds like it's one of them. You might fail, but that's a good thing. It creates a whole other mindset to go back to the beginning. So what are some other performance results or success determinants when that mindset, motivation, and transitioning process is working for you on your journey?
But that's a good thing. It creates a whole other mindset.
Yeah.
So what are some other success
To measure their joy level.
results or success
Their
determinants
zest for life
when
and
that
their
mindset,
joy.
motivation, and transitioning
Overall,
process is working
Is it
for you on your
raising?
journey?
And there's a woman named Barbara Fredrickson. who
So
wrote an amazing book
I
on
asked them to
positivity,
measure their
and she
joy
created
level.
the positivity ratio.
Yeah, I know
Their
Barbara.
zest for life and their joy.
Positive emotions versus negative
overall.
emotions. I love her.
Is
Yeah.
it raising?
And so
And
what
there's
she
a
is
woman
saying
named
is
Barbara
if you
Fredrickson who
feel
wrote
three
an amazing
positive
book called
emotions
Positivity,
to one
and she
negative
created the
emotion,
positivity
you're gonna
ratio.
spiral
And this
upward and
ratio
drive.
is
If it
positive
is
emotions
below
versus
that,
negative
you're gonna
emotions. I love that.
spiral down and things are gonna get
Yeah.
harder.
And so what she
So
is saying
if
is
you
if
have
you
more
can
joy
feel
in
three
your life,
positive
more
emotions
pride
to
in
one
what you're
negative
accomplishing,
emotion,
more
you're going to
gratitude for
spiral
what you've
upward and
achieved,
thrive.
more appreciation for
If
what
it
you're
is
experiencing.
below that, you're going to
That,
spiral
to me,
down
is
and
a
things are going to get
measurable-
harder.
it's a measure of
So
success.
if you have more joy in your life, more pride in what you're accomplishing, more gratitude for what you've achieved, more appreciation for what you're
And
experiencing,
growing from the journey.
that to me is a measurable, it's a measure of success.
Now, when you are asking people
Regardless of if you
to
have
measure
an
that
outcome goal.
that joy,
You are
that
enjoying
level
the
of
journey
joy they
and
have and
growing
enjoying
through
their
the journey.
journey, are you asking them to do certain things on a daily basis that are reinforcers that they're in the journey in a positive way? Like for me, here's an example for me. I say to my athletes in particular, every morning you wake up, you sit on the edge of your bed, you take a breath, you reflect on the day. What's going to happen for you? So you put your brain in that positive space right away. That's a success determinant. That if you don't do that, you're going to have less of an optimal chance of success. The next thing you do is you then begin to visualize what that day is going to look like as you start. You're in the shower, you're shaving, whatever you're doing, doing your hair, whatever you're doing. You're visualizing that whole process. And then you have all the things in the middle of the day that you can measure and identify. Am I hitting levels of joy? With your mirror, that's a great thing. I think I'm going to have people look in mirrors more often. Are you smiling today? Those are tangible examples of levels of joy. Are you asking others to be happy and smile? How often are you making contact? One of the things I ask my guys to do is shake hands with people. Anybody you meet, people you know, people you don't know, shake their hand, touch their shoulder, be in connection. Those are all measurable ways to identify your level of joy. But I'm interested in what you would give people as physical or tangible ways to identify that joy and that level of joy.
Those are all measurable
Sure, so
ways
there's
to
some tangible
identify
action
your level
to
of
increase
joy.
joy.
But I'm
encourage
interested
my
in
clients
what
to do
you
a gratitude
would
journal where
give
before they go to
people
bed,
as
they write about 3
physical
things that
or
they're grateful
tangible
for or
ways
appreciate
to
that happened
identify
during the
that
day.
joy and that level of
Or
joy.
also a
Sure,
pride
so
journal,
there's some
where
tangible
they're
action
excited
to
for 3
increase the
choices
joy.
that they made during
I
the day
encourage
that
my
they're proud
clients
of.
to do a
3
gratitude
decisions
journal
they
where
made,
before
or
they go
3
to bed,
actions
they
they took
write
that
about
they're
3
proud
things
of.
that they're grateful
In
for
the
or
morning,
appreciate that
for
happened
me,
during the
it's
day.
Yep.
what are you
Or
looking forward to today?
also
Sit
a
up
pride
in bed
journal
and think about
where
3
they're
things you're
excited,
looking forward
3
to,
choices that they
and
made
then
during the
set
day that
your
they're proud of,
intention.
3 decisions they made, or 3 actions they
Intention
took that
is
they're
a
proud
little
of.
more
In the
more
morning,
than a goal.
for me, it's what are you looking forward to today?
What do you want
Sit
your
on the
day
edge of the bed and
to
think
be
about
today?
3
What do
things
you
you're
want
looking
your
forward
base
to,
focus to
and
be
then
today,
set your
right?
intention.
And
And
visualization is a great tool
an
for
intention
creating joy
is
and
a little
imagination.
more core than a goal.
More effective
It's
than willpower
what
as
do you want your
motivation.
impact to be today?
That's
What do you
impressive.
want your base focus to be today?
So if you can
Right?
visualize
And
that
visualization is a great tool
outcome
too.
of your
Studies are
success,
showing
the
that
day that you're about to
imagination
go through,
is more
that's a
effective than
powerful tool to use.
willpower as motivation.
Yeah, that brings you to real terms,
And that's
the visualization process.
So if you can really visualize and imagine the outcome of your success or the day that you're about to go
So
through,
if it's easier,
that's
if
a
you're
powerful
doing
tool to
your things
use.
that you were grateful clearly,
And
Yeah, that
then,
brings you to
then we
real
measure
terms.
it. So
positivityrratio.com.
yeah.
And you can go
Yeah,
and
so
take
if
a
it's
2-minute
easier,
test every day,
if
and
you're
it'll
doing
give
your
you
and you come up with 12
for that day. And so
oh,
a couple weeks
clearly
you can
your
hop
joy is
on at the
going
same
up.
time of day.
But there's also
and
Barbara
scientifically
has
measure
a
it.
website,
Yeah.
positivityratio.com.
Carrie, I'm
And you
gonna
can go
I'm
and
gonna
take a
I'm gonna
2-minute
remind you of
test
something.
every
You know,
day,
it's
and it
the
will
hour's
give you
almost
your
up.
positivity ratio number for that day.
Yeah,
And so for a
that
couple
fast.
weeks, you can
That
hop on at the
fast.
same time of the day.
So I'm gonna make sure that we
and
stay true to ourselves in a
scientifically measure it
shameful
as
way.
well.
Eyes on the prize. Carrie
I'm gonna
Williams, Eyes on the Prize. Great book. It's focused, it's
It goes by so
legit
quickly.
and practical. We've talked about a lot of things. I'm so grateful for the time. We worked on chapter 11, 12, and 13, by the way, people. So when you read it, reflect on what we've said. Also, check out,
It's focused,
but Carrie, check out your website. Make sure that people go there. Say that again for me.
Chapter 11, 12, and 13, by the way. So
Oh,
when you read it,
eyesontheprizebook.com.
Okay.
also
And
Um,
check out,
And you will be able to connect with Carrie there in another way for her. If you need a consultation with her, you want guidance from her, find out where she's going to be, which is where are you going to be in the near future?
Okay.
eyesontheprizebook.com.
And you will be able to connect with
So
Carrie there in
end of
another way.
November, beginning of December, I'll
You
be
need
in
a consultation
Austin at
with
the
her,
Senior
you want
Care Center
guidance from her.
Conference.
Find out
Doing
where
some
she's going to
breakout
be,
workshops
which is
on goal
where.
setting and great
Where are
goals.
you going to be in the near future?
In
Excellent.
December,
Um,
end of December, just in
So end of November, beginning of December, I'll be in Austin at the
I
Senior
have
Care
this
Center
workshop
Conference,
here in Los Angeles that
doing some
anyone can
breakout
come to.
workshops on goal
So
setting
you
and
can
great
check
goals.
that out on the website as well.
In
Excellent.
Excellent.
Well,
December,
you're
end of
listening to
December, just in time to do your
KUHSdenver.com.
resolutions,
We are
I have to
360
be in Los
Performance
Angeles
Talk with Carrie Williams.
that anyone can
I am so grateful for the opportunity.
So,
Next week
check
for
that out
us,
on the website
it's
as well.
Thanksgiving. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving. Be safe in your
Excellent.
travels. But also remember, we're going to do our show remote from Copper Mountain. We're going to talk about shopping, Black Friday, and what the challenges are for Black Friday from the mountains, hopefully with some snow. So as we always try to do, we're going to talk a little bit about the future. But remember, everybody, you got to breathe. You got to make sure that you take a moment, pause, and just breathe. I'm your host, Lowell Whiteman, with 360 Performance Talk with Carrie Williams. So grateful, Carrie. We'll be back in touch with you soon, I'm sure. Have a great day today. Thank you so much for helping.
Pause and just breathe. I'm your host, Lowell Whiteman, with 360 Performance Talk with Carrie Williams. So grateful, Carrie. We're back in touch with you soon, I'm sure. Have a great day today. Thank you.
Well, international people, glad to have you with us. It was a great show. Really glad. Really, really glad. Hey, listen, make sure you check it out on 360mindset.com and also on Facebook and the YouTube. We'll be out on YouTube as well. We're really doing some great things here. Want your participation. Text me whenever you can at 360 no, at Coach LKW on Twitter, and my website 360mindset.com. Have a great day today.